สวัสดีค่ะ
I think you represent both tourism and hotel industries, right?
Yes.
And both are in very bad shape.
Right. We
And
are
I know
affected.
that, and I'm sure that you must have been asked a lot of questions about these two industries. So how do you feel, to have to be speaking on behalf of these two industries at the
It
moment?
is very hard for me because I think we are the most affected for this situation
Yeah.
in Thailand at the moment. Actually, not only Thailand. I have spoken to my friends from other countries. They're also having the same problems. But other countries in Asia or ASEAN right now is worse than us because they are still that many people still have COVID.
That's right. Yeah. The situation is worse than us.
Worse
As
than
far as the
us.
COVID-19 is concerned. Right?
Yes.
But of course, the industry-wise, they are in equally bad shape like us. Right?
Yes, equally. Everyone, especially hotel industry. I think because we are the most, I mean, in terms of investment, we invest a lot. And at the moment, our income is in a bad shape, very bad shape. We are almost like we have a zero income for a few months already.
But does the exodus of people out of Bangkok to many destinations over the past weekends, is it something of encouragement for you?
Yeah, that's good for hotels out of Bangkok.
Yeah.
I mean, in other provinces, they are good, but not every cities
I see.
or provinces. Those are like 2 or 3 hours driving has benefit
I see.
better than
Pattaya, Hua Hin, Cha
Yeah.
Am, these are in the better locations to attract
yes, it's
people
better
from Bangkok, right?
than in the north or
see.
south.
Hat Yai,
Like-
for example, how is Hat Yai?
No.
Songkhla?
Not that,
Not that.
because Hat Yai is mainly tourists
Malaysians
from Malaysia.
and that has stopped. The inflow of
Yes.
tourists and stuff.
Actually, Phuket should be good, but because I have to fly from Bangkok to Phuket, so I think people are still scared of flying, although still within Thailand. But I've spoken to many people also from airlines business. They are affected a lot as well. They're also saying that because maybe people still doesn't want to fly, so driving is more beneficial.
But in the short and medium term, do you think the local tourism, with the support from the government, can in any way make up for the loss of foreign tourists?
It cannot be totally make up, but at least part of it. And it will be good for hotels, like I said, Hua Hin
Yeah.
or Pattaya. But for those in Phuket or Chiang Mai, it's still not recover yet.
So as far as you have discussed with all of your friends and people in the industry, what was the biggest concern for them in terms of recovering from this situation?
If the country does not open for tourists, overseas tourists to come, there's nothing that can recover or help us to be back to normal or as before COVID start. But I think it will take a long time, or maybe like next year. But it will take like maybe half of a year of next year, or maybe mid of next year.
No, I dropped by at a 5-star hotels in Bangkok over the weekend, and I inquired about the conditions it is facing. So they admitted that there were only few rooms that are being occupied. So how can these hotels with only few guests survive under these present circumstances?
In a true situation, no one can survive. Bangkok will be in a bad shape as well, because we are focusing on overseas tourists more than local domestic travel. Because mostly people from Bangkok travel out of Bangkok to go to other provinces, but not in
That's true.
from provinces to come to Bangkok, very little. So we will facing like occupancy less than 10%, which is bad. That will not make profit for us at all. But some hotels will get meeting and conventions from government sectors or corporate meetings. But corporate meetings also not many at the moment, and it will not cover what we have lost.
Because corporate meetings have all shifted to online meetings through Zoom and video conferencing. Is that part of the problem as well?
Yes, yes. Actually, it's just a new thing that it's helped everyone during the COVID time. And at the moment, they may be addicted to the Zoom or those online conference, which is more convenience.
So, are there any types of hotels that might suffer a lot more than other types of hotels? Because some of them target more of business travelers, more of those who are not just business travelers, but foreigners directly. But some of them are more on the niche market. Those are backpack travelers. Would there be any sort of hotel that might suffer more from this pandemic?
I think the bigger the hotels suffer the most because you have, for example, we have like 500 rooms hotel.
Okay.
We must have staff like 600 staff, so or 400 staff. So how can we pay our staff? This is our problems of the big hotels. But if you are in a smaller hotel, the pay or expenses will be less than the bigger hotel. So, and for Thailand, our last year, for example, like last year, tourist arrival was about almost 40 million, and 70% are overseas, 30% only that is domestic travel. So, in this domestic travel, 30%. So it doesn't cover for every hotels throughout the countries. That means although now there is a government trying to encourage people to go for domestic travel, but it will not be able to cover every hotel in Thailand. We have about like 66,000 hotels in Thailand throughout the country. So this 30% of last year will not cover all. And even though, moreover, this 30% will not travel all
That's right.
at one time.
Yeah, that's right.
So we are facing like less than 10% for the occupancy now in big city like Bangkok. But if in other cities like Pattaya or Hua Hin will be better.
I see.
So they can make like 50, 60 or 70,
So-
depends on
And
hotels.
this whole thing is something unprecidented. You never seen something like this before.
No.
I'm sure as the president of the Thai Hotels Association, you must have talked to many of your member hotels, right? So what choice do they have? If you are a hotel with only 5 guests a night, so what choice do they have?
We have no choice, no other choice. Because like I said that main income of our hotels are from overseas tourists or corporate from overseas. But at the moment we cannot accept because we still close the country, and we don't know when the country will be open. Although if it's open like in another like 3 months, I don't think that it's gonna cover for this year. So this year, last year we have like almost 40 million. This year I don't know whether we will have like 7 million or not. so you see how many percent
That's right,
less than last year.
So it's definitely a big drop for this year as well. So what is your projected growth for the hotel industry in Thailand this year?
This year?
Yeah.
Oh, Uh,
No growth.
no
of course.
growth. Definitely, I think we will minus about 60 to 70% from last year.
How many people are involved in the hotel industry? I mean, throughout the country, employees. I mean, every type of employees, people.
I will say like about 1.8 million.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, but for all like the travel industry, we have about 4 million.
Together, tourism-related
Yes,
industries.
yes, and in addition to that, because our value chain is so big, because we cover all those farmers, or because we consume a lot of food,
That's right.
right? So that's our
The chain
big-
reaction, chain effects on these people too.
Yes, right.
Now, of the 4 million people who are related directly to the industry, tourism and hotels, how many of them you think are in dire straits that really need help?
Wow,
How many percent? you think?
I think all.
All.
All. Not only hotels that has this effect, but travel agents, like those tour operators, inbound tour operators. They also, at the moment, they still not open the business yet because no guests are coming at all. So they're still closed.
So, all right, we have been hearing a lot of talks about the travel bubbles arrangement. So what is the view on that, and how soon do you expect this to take off?
By listening from the government, I don't think that it's gonna be any soon. At least I don't know whether the last quarter we will see it or not. It may not. Yeah. Or if it possible, it's gonna be difficult because there were many conditions for the travel bubbles. It's not only that whether you will allow this segment of tourists coming or medical tourism coming, but if you are coming for travel and you have to be quarantined for 14 days, I don't think anybody will think of coming at all. But it's vice versa to other countries as well. If we think of going to other countries, they also need quarantine or not, that I don't know yet.
So what is your take on the travel bubble anyway? So do you agree with their concept, or is there something that they could have done more?
I do agree with travel bubbles, but the conditions or the agreement shouldn't be so strict, right? For example, if you're talking about having them test COVID free before coming, I think it's okay, it's fine. It should be like that. And tourists who are coming, they should have their insurance to cover their whatever it's going to be happening when they are in Thailand, or that will cover COVID as well. That's fine. But in terms of quarantines for 14 days, I think we have to rethink about this one. Whether should it be that way, or should it be in a soft case?
But based on the recent survey, many people disagreed with the travel bubble. Does this surprise you at all?
No, it didn't surprise me, but I think some people are just saying it's too hard or too yeah.
Maybe people are still not confident enough that we can really handle a sudden influx of tourists, right?
I do understand that people will think of it's maybe too soon to have the tourists coming in, but sooner or later we will have them to come in, because otherwise our country rely on tourist business for like 18% of GDP. So if we are not doing this business at all, that means our country will face a lot of economic problems.
And because Thailand relies on tourism and all of these related industries as part of reviving and pushing the economy forward as well.
Yes, right.
No, but if the present conditions persist, until the end of this year, and say there be some trickle of tourists coming in, then what is your worst case scenario for both industries?
I think there will be many hotels closing down, permanently closed, or some at the moment they are temporarily closed because of the pandemic from April until now, and it may open in August. But if the situation is not improving at all, so the reason of not opening will be better condition. Because when you open, you have expenses. And if you cannot cover your expenses, that means you are lost. And how long can you survive with the loss?
Is still there any hope for reviving domestic travel, encouraging people to travel to other provinces when we cannot even welcome any foreign tourists at all? Is there any hope?
Any more incentives than what the government has offered so far?
I think it's also depend on our populations or our
Yeah,
people are still not confident like what you said before. That is hard if we want to convince them to come out and travel. And also, some they, because of the economic problems or the layoff, so this part also is another problem for us, for traveling. Yeah.
See, many people believe that the pandemic is a wake-up call that should make us rethink about the ways we do things. So as far as the tourism and hotel industry is concerned, you think you have reflect on how things are going and how you look to the future that when this whole thing is over, how you're going to embark on a new sort of a new path for the two industries?
I agree that this is a wake-up call for us because we have never thought and we have done actually in hotel business or tourism industry, we are facing like up and down throughout the 10 or 15 years within Thailand, because we are facing many problems on and on. Like we have SARS, we have political problems within the countries. We have many incident, but not any case as difficult as this one.
So how long do you think the industry will recover? Like how many years?
I think at least 1.5 year. That's a minimum. That's a minimum. But it won't be able to be as a number of last year. I don't think so, because people are thinking a lot more to travel.
But long term, do you think that we still need to expect that many tourists to visit Thailand, like we did last year, 40 million, for example?
Actually, we I still optimistic that people like Thailand and they love to come to Thailand. If everything settled down, like we have vaccine or this pandemic is over, I think it will be back to normal and we can still rely on tourism as before. But I don't know how long.
I have talked to the tourism minister, Kun Pipat, and some other people in the government, and they believe that from this point on, we should not only aim for numbers of tourists, and instead we should think about attracting more so-called quality tourists in the future. Do you think that this is something that we can achieve?
Actually, whether it's a quality or a numbers, it's okay if we have to rethink or reconsider of the way how we marketing our country. But the most important thing to me, I think we should think about demand and supply. Because we have too many supply in hotels. I'm talking about, because in hotel industry in Thailand, we have hotel that register and having license as a hotel, but some do not have.
Many
Many do not have. more than what we are having. So this make our countries having oversupply. If we are talking about oversupply, when there are something like this pandemic happens, so the whole thing collapse, and it's difficult how the government can help everyone in the country or in the industry. So this is one of the problems that we should consider to manage demand and supply.
So the month of July, this month, which has about 3 weeks left, how do you see things will develop?
July still very quiet for us because many of us just start opening up our business.
So maybe August, September, October
Yeah.
should be more promising.
October, I was talking to the minister also. I think we will try to see something in October onwards.